Well, a warm welcome to today's talk. It's Tuesday evening, the 3rd of August. Now, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the United States and the United Kingdom today. Things in the United States are going worse than we'd hoped for sure. And things in the UK appear to be going, and indeed we now believe are going better than we'd hoped for. And also I'm going to talk about vaccination, COVID vaccination in pregnancy. Now, there's several august bodies coming out emphatically in favour of this now. And up until recently, national bodies have been fairly equivocal about this, saying things like go and see your own doctor. But of course they don't know, because they only go by what the national bodies say. So that's looking pretty firmed up now. So I'm going to be quoting from one of the bodies concerned. Now, just an orientation shot here, first of all. So United Kingdom, things are going down. We're now pretty convinced of this. The United States, of course, I'm afraid things are going up really quite dramatically. Ireland, fairly level, but still trending up the way, as indeed are some other European countries, Spain, for example. Canada going down. Australia, such a tragedy to see these cases now pretty well becoming established in Australia. Certainly in New South Wales. Very, very incredibly disappointing, really. Incredibly disappointing. Now, let's start with the United States. Last 24 hours, 103,336 cases in the 24-hour period. So up a lot on what we'd feared. And here's the graph here. I've just cut and pasted this bit. That's the actual line there. This line here is the 100,000 cases per day line, and so we see it's there. That's the top. The line's actually over that. That's the whole line there. So we see over 100,000 cases per day, and for the next few days, this data is probably going to be showing comparable or even higher amounts. So this is now certainly being talked about in the States as a fourth wave. So we're now in this fourth wave in the States. It's accelerating. Now, there's been increasing cases in pregnant women. And there's been urges for pregnant women to get vaccinated. So 140,000 women have been vaccinated so far who are pregnant in the United States. So let's just look at another sheet before we go to the website. This is the doctor who's led some of the research. No increase in risk of stillbirth, premature birth, growth problems with baby. So she's saying no increased risk of stillbirth, no increased preterm birth, no increased growth problems with baby. In other words, growth problems with babies seem to be absolutely fine. Now, I was a bit reluctant to talk on this until we had something really quite official, because pregnancy is not something you take lightly or mess around with. So this is from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So I think this is as definitive as we can get at the moment. And this is live from their website. So this is the current advice directly from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, which is as definitive as we can find for the States, I think. And here we have the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. Two leading organisations representing specialists in obstetric care recommend that all pregnant individuals be vaccinated against COVID-19. So all pregnant individuals, and by that they mean pregnant women. The organisation's recommendations in support of vaccination during pregnancy reflects evidence demonstrating the safe use of COVID-19 vaccines during pregnancy from tens of thousands of reported individuals over the last 7 months, as well as the current low vaccination rate and concerning increasing cases. Data has shown that COVID-19 injection puts pregnant people at increased risk of severe complications and even death, yet only about 22% of pregnant individuals have received one or more doses of the COVID vaccine, according to the United States Centers for Disease Control. And it goes on, it's all pretty clear there, really. American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists encourages its members to enthusiastically recommend vaccine to their patients. Strongly recommend that pregnant people get vaccinated. American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists recommending vaccination of pregnant individuals. There you go. Look it up for yourself. It's all pretty definitive, which is good to see that they're now stating this unequivocally. So there we go. That is the official recommendation now from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So that's utterly clear now, utterly clear from what they have said. Good to see. Check on it, click on it there. That's the website there. That'll take you straight through to that page we've just been looking at. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, if you get sick with the Delta variant, you're likely to infect 5 other people. So this is twice as transmissible as the previous variants. Twice as transmissible as the original variant, certainly, which was about 2.5. So there you go. It's saying the R number's 5, basically, in practice at the moment in the United States with Delta variant. Immensely transmissible. Cases doubling in 40 states over the past 2 weeks, unfortunately. Hospitalizations up 40% on the week in the United States. Deaths up 25% now. 2,500 deaths over the past week. Hospitals busy in quite a few places. Florida, Alabama, Texas. Hospitals are probably going to reach, in some areas, twice the January hospital peak, which is concerning. Louisiana, which is particularly short of intensive care beds, a federal disaster team has just arrived to try and help the situation. So while the hospitalizations in the states as a whole aren't massive, they're increasing, but in certain areas this is becoming a real problem, and these are areas that had low vaccine uptake. So it is pretty concerning, and there's going to need to be significantly more mobilization of resources within the United States to make sure everyone gets the care that they need. Unvaccinated people comprise 97% of the hospitalizations at the moment. Doctors are saying people get younger people, and basically their patients are younger and getting sicker quicker. So that is perturbing. But today, President Biden's target for the 4th of July has been reached now on the 3rd of August. So it's pretty well a full month late, isn't it? Of vaccinating 70% of the adult population. The thing about vaccination in the States, though, it is trending up the way. This data here, that's not yet complete, will be up to this 1 million a day mark pretty soon. So vaccinations are trending upwards steeply in the States now. This Delta variant has been the wake-up call that a lot of people needed, unfortunately, in the States to get vaccinated. So a month behind, but catching up rapidly. Unfortunately, the people getting their first dose of the vaccine now aren't going to be massively protected against the Delta variant. Even in 3 weeks' time, when that vaccine's kicked in, they're going to have some level of protection. But against the Delta variant, we really need 2 doses of the vaccine. And then it's going to be 3 weeks after that. So this is not going to stop. The increase in vaccination is not going to stop the fourth wave that's now, unfortunately, basically inevitable in the United States. Let's hope I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it at the moment, unfortunately. Now, the UK, cases are down for the 5th day running. So Tuesday, 3rd of August, we added 21,691 cases. So a significant reduction. So we were, it's been going down for a while, as we've looked at. Then there was a 7-day decline. The peak was 54,674 on the 17th of July. The 100,000 that we thought might happen has not happened. Nor is it looking likely to happen now. This is looking like a genuine downturn. Now, people are bemused by this in the UK. Why has it gone down so much? And basically, the epidemiologists don't know that they're as bemused as the rest of us. So cases went up artificially. So that peak on Saturday, the 17th of July, 54,000, was probably due to the Euros, that people watching the football inside drinking beer and stuff like that. But then there's the summer weather. People are outdoors more ventilation, more vitamin D, more irradiation to kill the virus. People are still taking precautions, actually. I'll just show you, this is actually quite a useful graphic here. This shows the change in behaviour, or the lack of it, in the United Kingdom. So mean number of daily face-to-face contacts per person, adults and children, and we see that when restrictions were eased, about when was it, the 19th of July, so it was about here, adults are actually adults are interacting more, adults and children collectively about the same, largely of course because schools went off, but overall the amount of social interactions not greatly increased, and after a bit of an initial demob happy sort of spurt there, we've started going down again. So I thought that was quite interesting, really. So people's behaviour has been moderate. In Jonathan Van Tam's words, we have not ripped the pants off the liberalisation of restrictions. Now, looking at more data from the UK, so let's look at the vaccination rate here. There we go. So, I mean, it's going well, but daily first dose, 26,000. Dear me, has this slowed down? Second doses, not too bad, but this is quite a significant slowdown in the rate of vaccination in the UK. No question about that. Now, when we look at cases, of course, we know from the official data that cases have been going down dramatically and still continue to do so, which is good. But of course, what really matters is not so much cases, it's if people are getting sick or not. So if we go and look at the healthcare statistics, we actually see that recently, okay, there were 731 people admitted to hospital, 6,000 people in hospital at the moment, but this is down. This is down. So the number of people admitted to hospital has gone down over the past few days, indicating that maybe those reductions in numbers are accurate after all, and the number of people in hospital as well, well, you'd have to say sort of stabilised there at just over 6,000. So let's take a quick look at deaths while we're here. Yeah, I mean, there has been an increase in deaths actually. Yeah, just today, 138 deaths. But of course, these are people that got sick about 3 weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago now. So I would expect this to go down again pretty soon. That would be my sincere hope and indeed expectation. Now, if we look at the Zoe data, this is interesting. Let's look at the Zoe data now. So that's the vaccination in the country. That's the prevalence. 767,000 currently predicted to have symptomatic COVID in the UK. Down. And new cases today, 47,000, much higher than the official figures, but these are symptomatic cases. And we're going to look at the reason for that in a minute. Basically, the government are looking for the wrong symptoms now, which has become unfortunate. In fact, well, yeah. It's inexplicable why the government haven't changed the guidelines. We'll check that in a minute. But there you go. The prevalence is definitely going down, even on the COVID symptom tracker data. So even just in the past few days, we've got a definite reduction in cases there. So putting these things together, I'm convinced cases are going down in the UK. It's pretty convincing. So Zoe data, UK cases have stopped rising. Now, this is data always a bit out of date, 29th of July when they analysed this. At this time, the new symptomatic cases were just over 60,000, but stay with me because it's quite relevant data that they've processed here. Unvaccinated people who became symptomatic, 36,000. And remember, this is based on large-scale studies, so it's over 1 million people reporting and 30,000 test results, which is pretty good. So of that, what we're saying is of that 60,000 there at that particular, this is actually about, this came out a few days ago and it's the week before that's data, so it's always a bit out of date, but 60,000 people, their symptomatic disease, 36,000 unvaccinated. The week before it had been basically the same, so basically flat on the week. Partly vaccinated, 10,000 people becoming symptomatic. Fully vaccinated people, 14,000 people becoming symptomatic. Mostly with minimal symptoms or few symptoms. And that had remained stable over the past 6 days when the government data had been going down, suggesting that new cases have stopped rising in the UK now. But you had this situation where the COVID symptom tracker data was saying the cases were staying flat and the government was saying it was going down. Why is this? Well, just before we come on to that, when we look at these people, so we look at that 14,000 people who were fully vaccinated becoming symptomatic. This is in the context of 37 million people who have had the vaccine. So, okay, it's 36,250. No, it's not. It's 14,110 per day. It's significant, but it's out of 37 million vaccines given at the time when this data came out. That gives a prevalence for the week before that last week of 1 in 82, pretty high. The R value between 1 and 1.1. England, the R value was 1.1. Wales, it was 1. Scotland, it was 0.8. But as we've said now, about 10 days later, those numbers are going down now, even on the COVID symptom tracker data, and most certainly on the official government data. And areas that were a concern, like northeast of England, is now trending slightly downwards as well, and Scotland trending well downwards, which is good to see, 0.8. Tim Spector, new COVID cases have stopped rising for the last week. So basically he was saying, and this is of course a week before, so the stop rising. So what Tim Spector's saying is that that stopped rising there, but now we know with the evidence of the next few days up to the 3rd of August that they are going down. The prevalence there is going down. Now, he said this is in the stark contrast to the rapid decline in cases recorded by the government's official confirmed case data. So what he's saying is his cases were holding flat while the government's cases were going down. And he said, leaving the accuracy of the official tally in doubt. Again, for the last week. It could be that we're now testing the wrong people, Tim Spector says. Ooh. Still a very strict and limited symptom list in place. And if you don't believe me, check that out. And this is now so absurdly out of date that, some people might use a word like negligent of the government bodies not to update this. This is straight off the government website about an hour ago. If it's been updated, it's within the last hour. Let me show you it. Main symptoms of coronavirus COVID-19 are a high temperature, new continuous cough, loss or change in the sense of smell. It's been like they've had that on for ages. And we know that this is no longer the case. The combination of Delta variant and the state of vaccination means that the most common feature is headache, runny nose, sore throat, and common cold type features. The government official site here is way out of date. So if people are going for testing when they have these, then they're missing. They're testing for the wrong thing. So this is what Tim Spector's saying here. Is saying, could it be we are now testing the wrong people? Well, yeah, because the government aren't giving the up-to-date clinical features, which really is quite incredible. But there we have it. That is the situation. But the good news is I'm satisfied the cases are going down now because we have agreement between COVID symptom tracker data and the official government cases as well. Both are now in agreement, and that is the consensus of opinion now quite firmly in the country. So there you go. Quite interesting, really. United States heading for a difficult time. UK looking more optimistic. Just shows you this pandemic never lacks the power to surprise. We expected cases to go up in the States, but how quickly they've gone up and how quick hospitalizations have gone up is more than most people expected. But then you've got all the experts in this country who are saying cases will go up after the 19th of July, and they've stayed level for a while, and now both ways of estimating the data are saying they've gone down. So there you go. Science is based on real empirical observation, not theory. And if the real world proves our theory wrong, then the theory was wrong and the real world was right, because that's what science is, an ability to a quest to understand the real world. So that's us for today. Thank you for watching very much. Just before we go, we're going to play a bit more of. I know quite a few of you have been asking about the newly diagnosed diabetic patient that Wefwafwa's treating. So we'll see him again today, and he's going to advise the mother on diet for this patient. So let's go over to Wefwafwa now and watch this interesting community health project in Uganda that we're following.
Hello guys, welcome to part 2 of our day 2 community outreach. In this video, you will get to see how we demonstrated to Mama how to prepare the diabetic diet, and you also see how we gave out the glucometer, and you will see how we planted some nutritious plants with the Hezekiah and the mother. So enjoy the video. So guys, we are now going to demonstrate how Mama can prepare a diabetic diet for Hezekiah. And we are going to use our locally available foods. We have here avocado, we have here the tomatoes, onions, garlic, and then green beans. We also have cucumber. So I will be explaining to her how she should prepare this food. There is some rice as well, and then we have cabbage there. So those were some of the things that we were able to buy with the money that we were having at the moment. We also have some carrots. So I hope this will work for our friend here. We just brought a sample for teaching, but we believe that if God provides, Mama will be able to buy more food. And then in case we also get the money, we may once in a while visit our friend here again with more food. So you will allow me to explain everything in our local language. I started by asking the mother whether she had any knowledge about diabetic diet and whether she was told by any health worker how to prepare for her child the food. And she told me she was never told by any health worker how to prepare this food. Now, this didn't surprise me given the fact that personally, I have never seen a dietitian in my place where I'm living and in a district of over 175,000 people. I have never met him since I was young. Maybe he's there right now, but what I know is generally we have very few people specializing in nutrition. So nutrition is given very little attention in most cases. So I had to use my knowledge of clinical medicine and of the little nutrition that I studied to explain to her using the general knowledge of a balanced diet. I told her that we start by drawing an imaginary line in the middle of the plate that gives us two equal halves. Then we divide one half into two equal quarters. The half is filled with non-starchy vegetables. That means vegetables with low or no starch in them. For example, we have vegetables like cabbage, broccoli, green beans, like you can see. I have some there. Then we also have things like cucumber. We have things like onions, eggplants, and others. The remaining quarters, I told her to fill one quarter with the healthy proteins. For example, using foods like eggs, chicken, beans, and then also things like lean meat. So I told her to fill the remaining quarter with some whole grain foods like corn, rice, bread, and others. But I told her to avoid use of processed sugars, like buying for the child sweets, the cakes or sodas. I told her they are not good for the child's health. So my major emphasis was on the foods that contain starch, because here in Uganda, people eat a lot of food compared to veggies. Like someone can eat a lot of portion and then with very little veggies, and that is the norm here. I think the whole problem is due to lack of education about that. So that's why I tried to explain everything to her, and at least she understood what I was saying. Now, in case you are watching but you have more knowledge about a diabetic diet, or if you have your son or your sister or your brother suffering from diabetes mellitus type 1, you can share with us in the comment section how you are managing that child, and you can also email me with more resources concerning diabetic diet, such that I can help this young boy. As I told you, I'm not a trained dietitian, I'm a clinical officer, but here I was using my knowledge of nutrition to explain to Mama how we can help this young boy. So in case there is something that you wish to add, you are most welcome. Now viewers, we have finished teaching Mama about the diet. I think the second last item on our agenda here is to hand over the blood glucose machine to Mama. Mai, so sishume sino show mana As you can see, Mama was very happy when we gave her a new glucometer, and even our boy was very happy, and you see he was really interested in whatever was happening. We also gave her about 50 new strips. We believe that those ones will take her around 1 month and some few days before she buys other strips.
Okay, we'll leave Wefwafwa there for today. If you want to know what happens next, you're just going to have to tune in for another episode. But if you can't wait, I'll put the link to Wefwafwa's whole video there. I love the way Hezekiah got bored halfway through the explanation and started yawning. So, yeah, Wefwafwa's right. I mean, the thing is, in anyone really, but in diabetics especially, you want foods which have a low glycemic index. So what you have with glycemic index is, if you imagine that is the imagine that's the blood sugar level there, blood glucose level, the amount of sugar in the blood, and this is time along here, going time along that way. So if you eat a sugary food, like if you drink some soda that's got massive amounts of sugar in it, or if you eat sugary sweets, then what happens is your blood sugar goes up very quickly like that. But what happens in a normal person is that a lot of insulin is released and the blood sugar goes down equally quickly. But what can happen, because insulin has been released by the normal person and insulin lowers the blood sugar, then what often happens is the blood sugar will actually go lower than it was to begin with, and you'll get this condition called rebound hypoglycemia. And of course that makes the person feel hungry, so they eat more sugary foods again, and they end up doing this. That means they produce a lot of insulin, and the blood sugar comes down again, and you end up in this kind of vicious seesaw that you don't really want. And as well as that, when you produce a lot of insulin, when your blood sugar's high, the body's obliged to produce a lot of insulin, and that starts putting a strain on the insulin receptors and on the insulin producing apparatus in the body, and over time that can cause type 2 diabetes. So what you actually want, you want foods that have, so that would be a high glycemic index food. What you want is low glycemic index foods, like these vegetables, for example. So again, that's the blood glucose there in the blood, and that's time. So if you eat a low glycemic index food like nuts, or more so with complex carbohydrates, or even carbohydrates in fruits and vegetables that are associated with fibre, what we call complex carbohydrates, then what happens there is that the blood sugar will go up, but it goes up much more gradually, and it stays up for longer like that. And when your blood sugar's up like that, firstly, you don't feel as hungry, but then it only goes down slowly when the body starts using it up, and it stimulates a low amount of insulin to produce, and it goes down to manageable levels like that. So that way, your blood sugar stays higher or at a reasonable level for longer, so you don't feel hungry and you feel okay. And it hasn't stimulated the massive peaks of insulin, because when the blood sugar goes up, of course, very high, then you get massive release of insulin, which, as I said, puts strain on the insulin system. So this is what you want: low glycemic index foods, and that's what Wefwafwa was explaining. But the trouble is, of course, in this boy, because he's diabetic, if he eats a high glycemic index food like that, his blood sugar will go up like that, and then it will stay high. It won't come down. It'll only go, well, it'll just basically stay high. And we saw last time his blood sugar was about 17 millimoles, which was about 310. He was very high. He had very high blood sugar. This is called high blood sugar is hyperglycemia. GLY. Oh, it's too long since I've written this. HYPERGLYCAEMIA. Hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, and of course in the States you leave out the A. And it's this hyperglycemia which leads to long-term complications. And of course in type 1 diabetes especially, there's another condition that can develop called ketosis. So anyway, we'll leave today's there with that great interest shown by Hezekiah and his mother of the glucometer. Oh, and by the way, that glucometer there, let me tell you who paid for that. You did. You paid for that. The people that have made donations to Wefwafwa paid for that glucometer and the blood pressure machine and the food and everything he's planting, because he hasn't got any money himself, and so the donations have paid for that. So thank you very much. And that is genuinely us for today now. Thank you for watching.